Hi, I'm Dion Major, founder of Revenue by Design and author of the Stepped Approach, as well as soon to be released Lead with Soul. And today, what I want to share with you are the three main saboteurs that get us every single time. Consider the next few minutes as a prelude to the book Lead with Soul. You don't have to buy the book. However, this will be helpful if you do. And even if you don't buy the book, what I'm gonna share with you in the next few minutes is absolutely a game changer if you're the type of leader that is looking to get better. If you are looking to figure out, man, how can I not be stressed out? How can I get my team engaged? How can I switch from being a command and control leader to a servant leader? How can I really work on myself to get myself elevated and put the wind in my team's sails because I know that they are capable of so much more. How can I change as a leader? What behaviors do I need to look at? What are three simple things I can do to get better now? This is what we're going to talk about, and you're going to be so thrilled you joined us. And when I talk about saboteurs, I'm talking about those sneaky things that rob and deflate the great ideas we have. And so that's what we want to talk about today is how do we get out of our own way to get this? We all want to be successful. We all wake up every day, hopefully going, I got this. I'm going to win today. We're going to do it. It's going to be amazing. Other times we wake up and we're like, man alive, I don't want to go to work again. I don't want to go work for that boss. I don't want to go work for that company. We don't want that. We want to figure out the top three saboteurs, which is what we're addressing today, get them out of the way so we can have this. We can be successful. We can have happy employees. We can see our employee engagement rates go up. We can see our NPS scores going up. We can see our revenue going up. That is all a byproduct of our behavior. The stats today are dismal. According to Gallup, we have about a 23 to 30% employee trust rate, which means 70% of our employees don't trust us, which is leading to an employee engagement problem, which is leading to about an $8 trillion GDP drain annually. That's awful. We can absolutely fix this leaky bucket. And I'm going to give you a few quick, not necessarily easy, but simple ways to do it. But first, before we solve anything, we want to dig in and address it. The number one saboteur that gets us every time is ambiguity. And some of you just said, that's not what I thought she was going to say. I thought she might say, where are my leads? I don't know. That's not what we're talking about today. What we're talking about is ambiguity, because what ambiguity is the absence of clarity. Ambiguity forces our brain to try to solve things, and our brain is wired to help us survive. So, in the absence of clarity, our brain starts asking questions subconsciously. We might not even be able to voice them. We might simply go, that doesn't feel right. We might simply go, that doesn't seem right. We can't give voice to it because it's happening at such a subconscious level. It might be that. So, this is what shows up when you have a great idea and you, as an example, leave your kickoff and everybody's excited and you just are talking about all these great ideas and everybody goes back to their desk and it's business as usual. There's no behavior change. That is the problem with ambiguity. And so we want to address ambiguity in the following way. We want to think about how are we communicating and what is the brain hearing? So the example I give leaders is we talk about things at a strategic level, which we absolutely should. I'm not saying we shouldn't. What I'm saying is translation gets lost between strategy and execution. And the way to solve that and get that saboteur out of the way, this saboteur of ambiguity out of the way, is to get specific. So if we're saying as a leader, we need some flexibility, all that is telling me is I don't have a direction. What does it mean to be flexible? What does that mean? If it says, let's stay agile or we'll figure it out as we go, all that tells me is it's very wishy-washy. And as we say those phrases, our brain, and if you pause a minute, what was your brain doing when I was saying those things? Because what we hear is we don't know, we don't have a clear direction, we're just going to keep ideating. We don't have a stake in the ground. And the brain prioritizes predictability. Have you ever gone and run errands on a Saturday morning? And if you're back in the office, maybe you're used to going a certain way. You leave your house and you're used to driving a certain way. And maybe the way you go on a Saturday morning is the opposite. And if we're not paying attention, we're going the wrong way because our brain is wired to keep us alive. And our brain is wired for predictability. We crave predictability. And the minute we say the things at the top, our brain goes into survival mode. And we go, all right, well, I guess we don't know what we're doing. I'm just going to go do what I think I should be doing. It's exactly what happens. And for some of you, you went, oh, that's why my team is doing that. Because as leaders, the number one antidote to ambiguity is specificity, and we can only be specific if we are clear. So, the map I want to give you today, the gift I want to give you is a 3-step process to get clarity, to move from ambiguity to specificity. We want to talk about identify what's unclear. If my team isn't following up on leads, if we don't have the revenue we need, if we're not seeing the team engagement, the cross sell, upsell that we need, what is unclear? Do we have assumptions? What questions keep coming up? Let's really identify and peel all that back, right? And then we want to get really specific, very specific before we start executing. Because a lot of times we're like, yeah, we know we need revenue. And my background is revenue. And so we're talking about, oh, we just need to increase talk time or we need to increase number of calls. And that's not what we need to be doing. We need to be thinking about the depth and breadth of quality conversations we're having. How do we do that? That is the problem we're probably needing to solve in this example. So we want to think about specifically what good looks like so that we can execute. The example you're seeing it here is we got to get rid of the phrase of we'll figure it out to our stake in the ground is here's what good looks like by Friday at noon. Because once we start putting that specificity in place, the brain goes to work and it frees our brain up from survival to problem solving and coming up with really, really creative ways to address whatever it is we're trying to achieve. So, the next thing I want to share with you that is the biggest saboteur is inconsistency. Again, our brain thrives on consistency. Here are some stats for you from some reputable sources. I'm not going to read the slide to you, but when we are consistent, again, our brain knows what to expect. My boss has consistently held my one-on-one. This is the standing agenda. These are the questions that he or she is going to be asking me. Here's what I need to prepare. That is how consistent we need to be when it comes to being a leader, because if we don't, we're eroding trust, which we've already talked about. And we're also taking away the hit of success that comes from those achievements. That's why scrolling on our phone works. It gives us a dopamine hit. That's why we're all addicted to it. So when we keep our commitments, our confidence grows. So the question I have for you is how consistent are you in your leadership efforts? Are you consistent with your team meetings and are they quality? Are you consistent with your one-on-ones and are they quality? So I get it. A lot of times we think, oh, my team doesn't want to meet with me. It'll be fine. Everybody's busy. Then just say that. Speak into the void you think is there. And I guarantee you it's probably not. Because the cost of inconsistency is that $8 trillion number. The easiest way that we can become consistent is to develop a rhythm of leadership. And this is our flywheel of success. That is how we get rid of inconsistency. So my question for you is, what does your rhythm of leadership look like? Do you have one? And does everybody know what it is? So again, think about the framework. Identify, specify, execute. Think about where are we reactive instead of proactive. The majority of our life is figure outable. There's probably not a lot of reason for us to be reactive. So identify those areas that we can drive a rhythm into. And now we have a level of expectation and a standard of excellence because we are in an operating rhythm with our team, ourselves, and our people. Think about an operating rhythm you have today and you don't ever miss it. Maybe it's your workout. Maybe it's your getting ready routine. I know I have one, right? So that's what we want to think about. And then think about what rhythms do need to exist. If you're not sure what rhythms you or your team needs, maybe survey your team, maybe go to other leaders and ask them. Maybe they have an idea. Maybe you can come up together. And then you start executing. And for those of you that are Covey fans, the book Speed of Trust, it is never too late to change our behavior. Never. Because we cannot talk our way out of something we behaved our way into. So if our behavior is erratic and inconsistent, the good news is we can change our behavior and become more consistent. Now, you're going to want to speak into it at some point because somebody's going to notice and be like, hey, you know what? We've gone from kind of all over the place to having a steady routine. Can we talk about that? Fantastic. Address it. But once you have a rhythm of leadership, your inconsistency goes away. And again, like we saw in those stats, your trust goes up with your team, your productivity goes up, your engagement goes up. Those are all soft and hard costs. The third saboteur that gets us every time is accountability. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, oh, I don't want to micromanage my team. And if that's you right now, I get it. Nobody wants to be micromanaged. The difference is people want accountability. People want accountability in a way of, hey, you asked me about this project and I want to give you an update. And if we have a blank look on our face as a leader, we've kind of failed. So accountability isn't fear, it's alignment. And accountability goes back to the very first thing we talked about, which is ambiguity. Because we can't hold people accountable if we aren't specific. As an example, our goal was to increase our cross-sell, upsell products in 30% of our clients in the first 6 months of the year. And we had a plan to do that. We had a go-to-market strategy with marketing. We had a calling campaign, an outbound campaign. We had our field team going in and checking with people and asking for meetings. We wanted to see 10% we want to see 10% engagement in these accounts. Yes, we're checking activity level against these accounts, but we wanted to see it go up month over month, right into the quarter. And we wanted to see order numbers go up throughout those 6 months, right? So we wanted to see penetration into our list of accounts because I can't have accountability that says, hey, did we achieve our cross-sell upsell goal if I don't have that goal and I haven't specifically identified the plan to get there and held a rhythm of reinforcement. So walk through the identify, specify, execute map because accountability fails when we assume expectations. If you're sitting there scratching your head going, I just thought my team knew. Why don't they know? That's on us as leaders. We haven't communicated effectively. If we're not giving consistent feedback. We're kind of unpredictable. Maybe we don't feel good. Maybe we've got an aging parent, a toddler at home. Maybe we just don't feel good. Maybe we just, our feelings are kind of running the show. We're just unpredictable. We're inconsistent. The org is pulled in 100 directions. That's the inconsistency. And our team's like, well, nobody cares. Like you threw out this goal, but there's no systematic way to talk about it or reinforce it. And nobody cares what I'm doing. The nobody cares part is what drives our lack of trust. So we want to make sure that we are dialed in, identify what are we holding each other accountable to, and specify our timing, our expectations, our feedback loops. And it doesn't all have to be baked in. We can say, again, back to our specificity, is our first iteration of what good looks like is this. We're going to take feedback and then assign specifically somebody who is going to update and address the rhythm of feedback. And then we want to start executing. All right, who's putting time on the calendar? Who's telling us what we need to do? Who's showing up with what information and what are we going to do with it? That is how we address accountability. We get rid of ambiguity by being specific. We get rid of inconsistency by having a rhythm of leadership. And we get rid of micromanagement and see success and achievement by having accountability in place, because that is what the brain hates the most, is ambiguity, inconsistency, and hidden expectations. Why didn't you just tell me? Right? So if we're having a team running on like, oh yeah, I heard this, so I'm going to go do this. Okay. You just said you want a 30% upsell, cross-sell, upsell. So marketing is going to go run a campaign, but we haven't brought along sales for alignment purposes. We want to make sure that we are aligned in that everybody knows this is what we're doing, and here's everybody's part in the play as we bring it to life. Because when we lack clarity, the stress systems in our body kick in. It's biology, right? Think about it. Here's an example. When's the last time, even if with all the GPS and maps in the world, that we got lost? What happens? You probably get a little freaked out. And your brain's going, we don't know where we're going. I'm scared. I don't know. Right? And your body is flooded with cortisol to help you. That is what happens when we have unpredictability in our organizations. And it's happening at an alarming rate right now because it limits reasoning and performance if we're in survival mode. Because our brain treats uncertainty as a threat, not an opportunity. So we want to make sure that we understand this biological principle. And it's okay to say, hey, we don't have everything baked yet, but what we do have is a plan for a version 1. We do have a plan, a for now plan, and it looks like this. What we don't have is a for later plan, but we're going to take our for now plan and we're going to execute. That the brain can wrap around, and we can ease into that, and we can relax into that and execute on that. So if take those 3 saboteurs and go through identify, specify, and execute. Where do you have too much ambiguity in your current structure? Where do you have certain inconsistencies right now? And where do you have a lack of accountability? Identify, specify, execute. It works every time. And so if you are interested in continuing this conversation, I encourage you, as I said at the beginning, get on the wait list for Lead with Soul, because leaders anticipate and act and followers hope and react. Hope is not a strategy. So which are you? Lead with Soul is the only book that turns everything you've ever learned about leadership into your leadership methodology. When you read this book and do the work, you will leave with your leadership methodology. I've interviewed a dozen or so CXOs, as well as brought my own 20 plus years of experience into writing this book with doses of neuroscience, real world stories, and actionable insights that will allow you to evolve from reacting to being proactive, to being a leader that can anticipate and act, to reducing your stress levels, to bringing out the best in you and your team. This book is for leaders who are ready to bridge the gap between performance and humanity. So this is a book that encourages you to go. So scan the QR code, get on the wait list now, and you'll be notified when the book is available for purchase. Like I said, it's a workbook style book, short, sweet, to the point, broken into 3 sections of identify, specify, execute, and you leave with your leadership methodology intact and you can run with that. So if you are liking what you're hearing right now and you want more, you want to start as you mean to continue, you want to be more deliberate and intentional, you can absolutely book a call with me as well and go from there. I'm not here to strong arm you, but I will absolutely, as a revenue excellence expert, but as a revenue excellence enabler, I'm passionate about helping people achieve the most they can out of what they have in hand right now. Thank you so much. Hope this was helpful. Get after it. Get after those 3 saboteurs. Get rid of the ambiguity. Get really specific. Get rid of the inconsistency and establish a leadership rhythm. Get rid of the micromanagement and establish accountability loops. Get on the wait list for Lead with Soul. Get the book, do the work, connect with me if you want when you get a chance, and we will chat soon. Thank you.